Oxygen is essential for the survival of all living organisms on Earth. However, the oxygen cycle is a complex process. Human activities, climate change, invasive species, and epigenetics can all impact the oxygen cycle, causing disturbances that can have significant consequences. We are the Group 2 from GED110 from Section A55, consisting of Joanna Baylosis, Roy Alegria, Justin Marcelino, Carlin Ornedo, Nicolas Solon, and Lance Ygar. Join us as we delve into this important process necessary to our planet in this video entitled Life and Death in the Oxygen Cycle, Exploring the Impact on Ecosystems.
There are two types of biogeochemical cycles, namely the gaseous cycles and sedimentary cycles. The oxygen cycle is one of the gaseous group. We call it the oxygen cycle when the movement of oxygen passes or circulates through the atmosphere or air. It is one of the main reasons why the planet Earth continues to sustain life. The process of the oxygen cycle can be summarized, starting with photosynthetic organisms like plants and algae, which produce oxygen during daylight and some at night. With the process of sunlight, these organisms can produce oxygen into the atmosphere, and this process is also called photosynthesis. Living organisms like animals and humans breathe in and breathe out carbon dioxide in exchange and release it back to the atmosphere, which will be absorbed and linked back to the photosynthetic organisms, which continue the cycle. Some facts about the oxygen cycle. Did you know that one of the famous houseplants can produce oxygen during the night? Snake plants can produce oxygen during the night. This happens by converting the carbon dioxide with its wide and long leaves into fresh and breathable air. And remember that this is not photosynthesis. This is what we call the respiration. Always keep in mind that photosynthesis only happens when enough sunlight is absorbed by photosynthetic organisms like plants. In fact, snake plants are best known for producing the highest amount of oxygen into the air of all among houseplants.
According to Bharati, the oxygen cycle has numerous and varied importance, and some of these are: first, the oxygen cycle helps maintain the oxygen balance between the physical environment and the biosphere. The oxygen cycle is a fundamental biogeochemical process that is essential for maintaining a balance between Earth's physical environment and biosphere. Second, it balances the carbon cycle since the presence of oxygen is important to the combustion and the composition of organic matter. This also oxidizes organic matter to produce carbon dioxide gas. And lastly, it maintains an uninterrupted supply of oxygen. Understanding the importance of the oxygen cycle can help us appreciate the interconnectedness of Earth's different systems and take steps to protect and preserve our planet's natural resources.
So according to Merck 2020, excess carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and other hazardous gases are released into the atmosphere by human activities, reducing the oxygen concentration in the following ways. So firstly, the indiscriminate cutting of trees or deforestation. Deforestation reduces the amount of oxygen produced through photosynthesis and can contribute to increased carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. Second, the higher human birth rate compared to the death rate. The high human birth rate compared to the death rate can result in increased carbon dioxide emissions due to the burning of fossils and industrial processes. These activities release excess carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and other hazardous gases into the atmosphere, leading to a reduction in oxygen concentration. And lastly, the effluents from vehicles, industries, and the other burning of fossil fuels. Effluents from vehicles, industries, and other burning of fossil fuels also contribute to releasing these harmful gases, which can negatively impact the oxygen cycle and Earth's overall ecosystem.
Invasive species are a major problem for ecosystems around the world, and they can have devastating effects on biodiversity and the environment. Now, I'll cover what invasive species are. how they spread, and what we can do to prevent their spread. So first, what are invasive species? Invasive species are non-native organisms that are introduced into an ecosystem and have negative impacts on the native species and the environment. These can be plants, animals, or even microorganisms, and they can spread quickly and easily in new environments. One of the main ways that invasive species spread is through human activities, rather. This can include the intentional or accidental release of non-native species into new environments, or the introduction of non-native species through trade or travel. Invasive species can also spread through natural means such as wind, water, or animal dispersal. Preventing the spread of invasive species is key to minimizing the impacts or their impacts. This can include the measures such as um, early detection and rapid response, quarantine and inspection of goods, and education and outreach to prevent the unintentional introductions. Um, Control measures for established invasive species can include physical or chemical control methods, biological control using natural enemies, or even using cultural practices.
Epigenetics can play a role regulating the expression of genes that are involve oxygen metabolism and transport. For example, epigenetic modification can regulate the expression of genes involved in the production of hemoglobin. A protein found in red blood cells is responsible for transporting oxygen throughout the body. Studies have shown that changes in DNA methylation pattern can affect the expression of genes involved in oxygen transport, which can limit the range of philosophical and pathological genes consequence. For instances, change in DNA methylation pattern have been linked to the development conditions such as anemia, which is characterized by the decrease of number of red blood cells and the reduced ability to transport oxygen. In addition to its role oxygen transport, epigenetics can play also a role of regulating the expression of genes involved in the circular responses to changes oxygen levels. For example, hypoxia and degradable factor are a transcription factor that play the key role in the cellular responses that change oxygen levels. Overall, epigenetics can play the significant role of regulating oxygen metabolism and transport, as well as the circular responses to the change of oxygen levels.
To conclude, the oxygen cycle is an essential procedure that plays an important role in maintaining life on Earth. However, human activities such as industrialization, deforestation, and the combustion of fossil fuels can have negative effects on this cycle by releasing harmful gases into the atmosphere. We must take action to preserve the oxygen cycle and prevent any further damage to it by reducing our carbon footprint, planting more trees, and controlling the invasive species to prevent them from disrupting the natural balance of the ecosystem. By doing this, we can ensure that the oxygen cycle continues to sustain life on our planet. Let's take action to protect the environment and the oxygen cycle. We must strive to be more mindful of our environment and take action to reduce our impact, because together we can make a difference.